This is the formula of the standard deviation, but that is useful for grouped data. For the ungrouped data, you need to see or consult with the book. There are formulas for the ungrouped data as well as for the grouped data. And you can either write down the formula of group data for standard deviation either in this form, or you can change the format of the formula a little bit. ये जरूरी नहीं कि यही फॉर्म यूज करें, इसके और भी डिफरेंट जो है वर्जन्स हैं फार्मूलाज के, बट बाय यूजिंग द डिफरेंट फार्मूला यू गेट द सेम आंसर, आपको आंसर जो है वो सेम मिलेंगे. एंड S is usually used to compute the sample standard deviation, और पॉपुलेशन स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन के लिए हम सिग्मा की नोटेशन यूज करते हैं. सिग्मा ये मैंने एक नोटेशन बनाई है, दैट इज यूजफुल फॉर, दैट इज कॉल्ड द सिग्मा नोटेशन, and sigma notation is used for the population standard deviation. So if you have a population and you want to compute the standard deviation, then use this notation. But if you want to compute the standard deviation from the sample observations, then use the S notation. Okay, from the above data, x minus x बार तो मेरे पास था. मैंने क्या किया जी, मैंने हर एक x माइनस एक्स बार का स्केयर लिया, इसको कॉरस्पॉन्डिंग फ्रीक्वेंसी 7 से मल्टीप्लाई करता गया, प्लस -2.0571 स्केयर मल्टीप्लाई बाय 16 प्लस 0.5571 स्केयर मल्टीप्लाई बाय 18 एंड सो ऑन, एंड ऐड दीज वैल्यूज. इन तमाम वैल्यूज को ऐड करता गया, एंड एट द एंड आई विल गेट 368.875 डिवाइडेड बाय 70. I will get 2.2955. You can check my calculations. Now variance is just the square of the standard deviation. So the variance is another kind of a measure of dispersions. Now applications of standard deviation. What are the applications of the standard deviations? So first application is that it is an important tool or is significant in the measure of dispersion. So noted that it is a very, very important tool in measuring the okay, a small value of standard deviation indicates that most of the data values are closer to the mean of the data, while large value of standard deviation indicates that most of the data values are scattered or away or dispersed about the mean. Okay, we have already gone through some of the examples about the standard deviation, so please revise my previous lecture. You will gain some understanding, more understanding. Okay, another application of the standard deviation is the coefficient of variation. So coefficient of variation is expressed as, it expresses standard deviation as the percent of the mean, as a percent of the mean. So basically its formula is standard deviation divided by mean multiplied by 100. So coefficient of variation is useful to compare two or more data points. So to find out the spread between the data values about the mean, coefficient of variation CB is an important tool. CB is also useful to compare two data. So let's look at the two different data. One is the sample data S, which contains the values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And second is also the sample data, but that contains quite higher values 100, 200, 300, 400, and 500. look at their measure of central tendencies. X1 is equal to 3. Sorry, I called the arithmetic mean of first data denoted by X1 bar. So that is 3. Its standard deviation by S1. Since it is an n-group data, so the formula will be sigma x minus x bar whole square divided by n. Okay, in some books, some authors use the denominator n minus 1 for the sample standard deviation, but we will use n here. So what will be the standard deviation under root 2? So standard deviation is 1.4142. Now what will be the coefficient of variation? 47.14%. Now look at the second data. Since the data values are huge, so definitely mean will be huge. And what is the range here? So range is 4 here, but here the range is 400 because you get the higher data values. So that's why you get the higher range. So that is the fact. And by using the same formula of standard deviation, when you compute the standard deviation is 141.42. So since the standard deviation is large, so that means you get the huge spread. So here standard deviation value is smaller, so that means you see this small spread. You can easily view it 1, 2, 3. There is a spread of 1 between every two values, every two consecutive values. And first and the last value there is a spread of 4 units, but here there is a spread of 400 units between the first and the last value. The reason is that the data values are quite higher as compared to the first sample data, but the coefficient of variation is same. So that means the variation in the data in both of these data about the mean is 47.14%. So since the spread in the second data is huge as compared to the first one, but the variation in the data about the mean is same. So both of the data tells the same information. Now CV is useful to compare two different data sets and just between the spread and the mean. So basically that is the usefulness or that are the remarkable properties of coefficient. Another application of the standard deviation is Chebyshev rule. Chebyshev rule is that for any data set, the interval x bar minus ks to x bar plus ks. What is x bar here? X bar is the arithmetic mean, s is the standard deviation, and k is some number. K is some number greater than 1. For any data set, the interval from this number to this number contains at least the fraction 1 minus 1 over k square of the data. So if you choose k greater than 1, you will get an interval, and that interval contains at least this number of data, like 1 minus 1 over k square of the data. So let's understand with the help of an example. So if k equal to 2, then your range will be x bar minus 2s, x bar plus 2s. Replace k by 2. यहाँ पे k की जगह 2 लगा दें. You will get this. And for any data, you can easily compute their mean and standard deviation. आप easily उसका interval बना लेंगे. उस interval में देखना कि कितनी data values इस interval में lie करती हैं. But without writing down these values, Chebyshev rule informs me that this data contains 1 minus 1 over k square. What is k here? K is 2. So 1 minus 1 over 4, 3 by 4 of the data. Yani ये जो इंटरवल मेरे पास है, when you choose k equal to 2, so the interval contains always 75% or more than 75% of the data. So that means the interval contains at least 75% of the data. But if you choose k equal to 3, then your interval will be skewed हो जाएगा, sorry, skews नहीं होगा ये, it will be enlarged, ये enlarged हो जाएगा. And it contains at least 1 minus 1 over k square, k की वैल्यू 3 पुट करते हैं. Then this interval contains 8/9% of the data. That means at least 88.8% of the data. So these are the facts.